Have you ever looked at a top performer, someone like NFL star A.J. Brown, and just wondered, what's their secret? What do they know that we don't? Well, when he's on the sidelines, he's often reading this book, Inner Excellence, and it's become his secret weapon for staying laser-focused under insane pressure. So, what's in the book?
He calls it the recipe. Just think about that for a second. For one of the top athletes on the planet, this isn't just some book he's reading. It's a formula, a step-by-step guide to reset his mind in the heat of the moment. It's the key to his mental toughness.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's actually unpack the core ideas from Inner Excellence. We're going to break down the ingredients of this so-called recipe and figure out how to master the mental game one piece at a time.
So the first big step to unlocking inner excellence really comes down to mastering two things: your relationship with your past and your ability to control your emotional state right here, right now. Let's start with how we deal with all that baggage from the past.
Now, the book draws this really fascinating parallel to the ancient code of the samurai. These warriors would think about their own death every single day. And that might sound grim, but it wasn't about being morbid. It was about practicing the ultimate form of letting go. It allowed them to act with total courage and serve a purpose bigger than themselves because they were free from the fear of what they might lose.
And that brings us to a choice that every single one of us has to make. Look, life is going to throw curveballs and failures your way. The samurai mindset reminds us that we get to decide. Are we going to carry those things around like a heavy weight full of bitterness? Or are we going to choose to forgive, let go, and move forward? That choice, that's where the real power is.
Okay, so that's the past. But what about right now, in this very moment? Well, the book makes a pretty bold claim. The most powerful tool you have at your disposal is your emotional state. If you can learn to direct how you feel, you can literally change the entire course of your life.
And the book gives you these really practical tools to shift your state instantly. Now, what's so interesting is, the author doesn't call it this, but these techniques are basically ancient yogic breathing practices. It's all about the idea that by consciously controlling your breath, you can directly control how you feel both physically and emotionally. One of the most simple yet powerful techniques is called box breathing. Seriously, take a look at the slide and just try it with me for a second. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, and hold again for 4. It's that simple. It acts like a reset button for your entire nervous system, calming you down and clearing your head for whatever's next. All right, let's move on to the next ingredient in our recipe. And this one is a bit of a mind bender. It's this idea that your deep, subconscious beliefs are quite literally creating the reality you experience every day. This quote really just nails it, doesn't it? We think we're seeing the world objectively, but we're not. We're seeing it through the filter of our own beliefs. The book puts it beautifully. In the sky, there is no distinction between east and west. People create distinctions in their own minds and then believe them to be true. It's like we're all wearing a unique pair of glasses, and high performers have just figured out how to clean their lenses to see things more clearly. So, the book introduces this fascinating concept called homeostasis. Just imagine your subconscious has a thermostat, and it's set to a specific comfort zone for your performance. If you suddenly start doing way better, your subconscious might freak out and try to sabotage you just to get you back to that familiar setting. That programming, that's the real secret weapon for high performers. It's what determines when they wake up, how they talk to themselves, what they're willing to sacrifice, and the key to breaking through your limits is to consciously turn up that thermostat. Now, check this out. This is such a simple but incredibly powerful trick for talking to your subconscious. See, when you say, "I am struggling," you're telling your brain that's who you are, right now. It's your identity. But if you just shift the language to, "In the past I struggled," you're reframing it. You're telling your subconscious that it's over, it's done, and you're creating space for a totally different future. And that brings us to what I think is the most profound, most powerful lesson in the entire book. It's a story that just completely flips our entire Western idea of what it means to achieve something. The author talks about a trip he took to Tibet, where he saw these monks creating an enormous, breathtakingly beautiful piece of art called the mandala. They were using millions of tiny grains of colored sand, and they poured hundreds and hundreds of hours of intense, focused work into this masterpiece. After all that work, after days of this painstaking creation, they held a big ceremony. And then, in one single moment, they just wiped it all away. The entire thing, gone, back to a pile of sand. This act, which seems so crazy to us, it reveals this deep, incredible truth. And honestly, reading this for the first time, it was like a light bulb went on. For the monks, the excellence wasn't in the finished product. The excellence was in the process. It was in every single moment of focus, of dedication, of just being completely immersed in what they were doing.
And this is what the monks were really building, not a sand painting, but a state of full presence. When you are totally lost in the journey, without worrying about the outcome, you unlock this incredible way of being. I mean, look at this list: joy, patience, gratitude, a total lack of fear or expectations. This is the heart of inner excellence.
So, we've talked about the samurai, the power of our breath, rewiring our beliefs, and the monks. How do we actually put all these ingredients together and start cooking up our own recipe for inner excellence?
Well, the book leaves us with this incredible guarantee. It says that if you really commit to these principles, if you master your state, change your beliefs, and truly fall in love with the process, you can absolutely transform your life. You can live with more freedom, more vision, and a kind of confidence that doesn't depend on what's happening around you.
And that leaves us with one last question to really chew on. In a world that is so obsessed with the final score, the trophy, the bottom line, what if the real prize isn't the destination at all? What if the real prize is who you become on the way there?